Well, welcome to MedicareTeam.com podcast. We're excited that you're here today. And really, I'm excited for you, the listener, today because we have a very, very special guest that we are blessed actually to be able to learn from today. Mr. Chris Mooneyham is a top Medicare, I would say, specialist, ninja expert, all of the above, has taught our team tremendous wealth of information. So excited to get into that with him. My name is Jeff Usner, founder of MedicareTeam.com. And Chris, we're excited to have you here today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I'm glad to be any part of this organization. So
why don't we start? Why don't you just tell us a little bit about your story? Like, how did you get started helping people with Medicare? Why don't we start there, and then just we'll run from there.
Yeah. So my background a little bit, I was a college athlete, so I've always been very competitive. And when I got out of college, I wanted to get into an industry that I was going to provide value and help a lot of people, which I've been blessed to do this now for about 6 years. And my dad had a heart attack ultimately. That's the reason I got in the industry was I saw my dad's health issues over the course of my life. And I know that the exposures that can bring to people, especially with medical bills and things like that. So it was something that I wanted to get into. And so yeah, initially my dad was the reason, but then I found the true love for it by being able to help Medicare beneficiaries get into a better position with their health and coverage. So yeah, what we do is very, very important as agents.
Yeah, it is. And we're going to dig into some like big mistakes I think people make when they're looking at Medicare today. I know you've helped over 1,000 active clients that you've helped, and you have seen tons of mistakes. Like, and we'll get into some of that. And there's some things you probably never heard before, and it's really valuable for you to like stay tuned into today's podcast because it could be really life changing. Honestly, I think it is. I think this is a great opportunity. I'm looking forward to learning from you today. I know in my experience with Medicare and with loved ones in my past, like there have been bad things that have happened where we could have had something in place if we'd have had the knowledge or the expert around us to help us. So 6 years, your dad had a heart attack. So that's how you got into Medicare and helping clients. Why don't you walk us through some stories of some of your favorite clients and kind of how you've helped them, or just one? Just start with one that comes to mind. You've shared many with us, but a client that came to you, maybe they were turning 65 and they were confused over Medicare Supplement, Medicare Advantage. Like, what do I do? Like, do you have anybody that comes to mind that you might?
Yeah. So I have some clients, one comes to mind. She was turning 65. She has current cancer and she was really scared going into Medicare. There's a lot of confusing information out there. Who can I trust with this? I'm getting so many phone calls that I never requested, a lot of stuff in the mail, these confusing TV commercials, and it's mainly tailored towards Medicare Advantage, which there's a lot of great options with that, but people need to know both sides of the coin. There's Medicare Advantage and there's Medicare Supplement, and they are drastically different. So us as independent agents, our job is to educate you on what the options are, the pros and the cons, because there's no one shoe fits all in your health coverage. And, that became my passion, like I mentioned. And, the client, she has active cancer. She was really scared going on to Medicare because she has a lot of medical bills that she's incurred. And I was able to go over the two options with her and found that, hey, you're turning 65. We can get you a Medicare supplement without any medical questions.
Oh, yeah.
So this is going to help cover your treatment, anything that you're going through. And she literally cried in my office. And it really made me tear up as well because education is key in life, whatever that is. And I was able to provide the value and get her a type of coverage that's really going to give her the peace of mind moving forward in her life. Again, what we do is really, really important.
Not every agent would take the time to help, or maybe she gets enrolled in what would have happened if she wouldn't have gotten on a Medicare supplement? Because she already had cancer. So some people turning 65 already have some kind of issue. What if she wouldn't have been on that Medicare supplement and she didn't have a chance to learn from us?
Yeah. So, I mean, her other option would have been going on a Medicare Advantage plan, still paying very high out of pocket. Unfortunately, with traditional Medicare, it is a 20% coinsurance if you have cancer. So again, traditional Medicare, there's no out-of-pocket maximum. So if she waited past the 6 months after her 65th birthday, she wouldn't have been able to health qualify for a supplement. So her option would have been to go on a Medicare Advantage plan, which is fine, but there's a lot of exposure within that with the 20%. So,
Yeah.
I have other clients as well that are on an Advantage plan that have cancer and they hit their max out of pocket very, very quickly, depending on the treatment that they're going through. So, that's why our job as agents is to educate you guys on both sides, depending on your situation and what you can afford ultimately, and then provide a solution to your needs. So,
Why don't we chat even so you were able to help her. She had cancer, excuse me, when she was turning 65. But rewind the tape. Had she known you beforehand, what would have been something, because cancer's like horrible. And from the stats I know, 87% of cancer is like post age 52. And you're dealing with a lot, and we're dealing with a lot of people who are 63, 64, 65, and older. But this client could have possibly had some coverage, maybe even beforehand, to help in that experience. Talk to us about that. I don't have cancer, but I know 1 out of 2 men are going to get it. 1 out of 3 women are going to get it. So it's. I'm not saying it's going to happen to everybody, but with this individual, it sounds like a situation. I don't know. I talk to so many people now that that's something that they have. It's really sad. But what would be some things that somebody could have in place to help cover the costs? Like if they have to travel for cancer treatments, there's so many things that happen that you don't think about once you're in it, right? That you could do something to prepare before you're in it that would make it much easier. If you could talk to
yeah,
us about
great
that.
question. So, our job again as agents is to provide education and value to you. And we don't just write Medicare, there's other products that we're able to help individuals with. And unfortunately, with the client already having cancer, we can't get any other type of supplemental policy. But what we do as agents is will go through different options with you. We help with cancer, heart attack, and stroke policies, which essentially pay a lump sum benefit if you were ever diagnosed with cancer, you have a heart attack, or you even have a stroke. You're going to get whatever lump sum that you pick. Let's say $10,000, for example. You would get a $10,000 check from the insurance company that you use to help cover any treatment that you're going through. And another stat that's crazy to think about is 54% of cancer costs are non-medical. So you mentioned
That's crazy.
traveling.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot.
Yeah. And, at our office, our landlord at the time when they had cancer had to go up about 3 hours north to a different hospital for cancer treatment for about 4 months. So you got to think, he wanted his wife to be there with him. What about the hotel costs that could incur, the gas, the food? There's a lot of things that people don't think about outside of what they pay copay or co-insurance wise
Right.
that if they have a good agent like us here at Medicare Team,
Yeah.
they're going to feel empowered and know what the options are if something were to happen, because we're going to hopefully get something like that in place to protect.
And who really like I hadn't thought about that. I've not had cancer. I've not had anybody really close to me, but who's had cancer. A lot of people I do know that do, but it never even really occurred to me till I heard that story of your landlord who just the costs, you said 52 or 54% of the costs are not even medical related. It's just to go get treatments, to stay at a hotel. And so you can have a policy in place that would help literally cut you a check and you could put it towards whatever expense that you want. Is that accurate?
Exactly. Yeah. So, whatever you're going through, that's going to give you ultimately the peace of mind that you don't want to be stressing about. You're going through treatment. That's only going to make everything worse. You don't need to stress about the hospital bills, the treatment, like I mentioned, the medication. That's another thing that a lot of people don't think about. A lot of cancer medications, if they're not covered by your insurance plan, you're going to have to come out of pocket for that. So just knowing what's covered, what's not with your current insurance. And then if you are going on to Medicare, just knowing the options with that. And then again, working with a good agent like us here at Medicare Team to provide you that education to hopefully help you out. God forbid something like that happen.
Yeah. It's really a interesting part of our lives when we start to turn 65 and have to start navigating. There's a lot that goes on. You're retiring, or like, what am I going to do financially? My healthcare is changing. Maybe I've have grandkids, or my family's multiplying, and you're beginning to think about legacy and what's next. It's a really, I think I'm not there yet. I'm close. But as we've helped people, like confusing and challenging time where I think a lot of mistakes are made because of bad advice, bad counsel. or people just do like my cousin did this, my neighbor did this. Um, so talk to us about some of the mistakes you've seen people make and how you've helped prevent that with some of your clients.
Yeah. There's not one plan that's gonna fit any situation. I kn it's good to talk to your friends and your neighbor and your family about, what insurance plan do you have just to get an idea, but you really do need to meet with a licensed expert that's gonna educate you first because, unfortunately, a lot of agents in our industry, they may only write Medicare Advantage plans, and that's not necessarily best for every situation. So, meeting with an expert that's going to go over the different options with you, look at your situation, what's your income, what's your health, what are your goals moving forward, and then we can provide a solution to ultimately protect you when something does happen. So,
That's a good point. So, like, there's people who might be listening and they might say, well, I'm just going to work with this agent because so and so did. But I've had experience with agents, whether it's in health insurance, excuse me, or real estate, and I'll be referred to somebody like, they don't really know what they're doing. So, and then later we wind up with a situation where somebody like yourself or someone from our team, we could have helped prevent that. Just because somebody has an agent doesn't mean they have all the answers, right?
correct.
So investing into the right education, I know even the last couple of days you've been helping the team here learn more. So our continuing education is good so that we as agents get better, but it's really meant to protect our clients to make sure we're giving the right information, whether it's on this podcast or whether we're on a phone call or whether somebody's in our office. We want to make sure we're steering them in the right direction so that they can get through it, as you shared, peace of mind. Um, and making sure they're making the right decision. You work your whole life. You don't want to make a mistake like right when you're 64, 65, and it winds up costing you hundreds of thousands of dollars or, maybe not that bad. It could be that bad or even worse. And it's something that's preventable. Talk to us a little bit about like a product that I don't think a lot of people hear about who do work with Medicare agents. They might get on Medicare Advantage, for example, but there's some gaps that there's a product we have that we work a lot with called Hospital Indemnity, and maybe some stories around that, or what's the benefit of a product like that?
Yeah, so hospital indemnity, again, there's multiple products that we're able to help people with. Not every product makes sense for everybody, but just knowing the options is really important and working with an
Hmm.
agent that's going to take the time with you. Like, you don't need to be rushed through this process. It's a lot to soak in. And if you don't do the training like we have to do as licensed agents, it's very overwhelming, again, with all the stuff that's thrown at you. And, working with someone that's going to take the time with you and show you the options depending on your situation. So, like you touched on, hospital indemnity, that's a great product that goes along with really any insurance plan that you have co-pays, co-insurance, deductibles. So it works with your group health insurance if you're on that now, if you're on the marketplace, whatever it is, and then Medicare Advantage. These plans have a zero or low premium, but we tell clients that's for a reason. There is gaps within that plan that we want to cover up for you for ambulance, hospitalization, emergency room, outpatient surgery, you name it. There's products that we can bundle and build around your current insurance plan to help protect you from those exposures. So it's something that's really, really important that people at least know about.
Yeah. So if I'm 63, I'm 64, and I'm still a little bit away from 65. Like, why would I be listening to this? Like, how could Medicare team help somebody like that right now?
It all comes back to the education and the value that the agent's going to provide you, the time they're going to take, going over different things, really digging into your specific situation, and finding something that's going to be of benefit to you specifically.
Is there a story that comes to mind of like somebody that you worked with where you're like, wow, I'm so glad that we were able to help them with this? I don't know. They came back and they gave you a hug. They wrote you a card. They showed up at your office, whatever. Like, is there anything that sticks out like that? I mean, I love stories, right?
Yeah.
I love to share stories. People love to hear stories. Is there any story of a client like that that comes to mind?
Yeah. So I have a client, Denise and John, in my local area, and she met with a different agent and they only went over the Medicare Advantage options. So, due to her health, she wasn't able to qualify for a Medicare supplement because when she found our agency, we go over the different options.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, that she wasn't able to qualify. And that's what she ultimately wanted. So, I found a different solution, which is again called hospital indemnity to fill the gaps of her Advantage plan. And it doesn't cover 100% of everything, but we can cover up a majority of the exposures within your Advantage plan. And that's life changing for people, especially if you're on a fixed income and you have let's say you make $2,000 a month. What if you get a $2,000 hospital bill? How are you going to come out of pocket for that? That's literally a month of your income. So our job as agents is
Yeah.
to go over different things with you. And if the product makes sense, we're going to help you with it.
Yeah. There's a lot of things out there that expenses that pop up that we're not prepared for. But when we have the right counsel around us, the right people, like I found in my life in different areas, it makes a huge difference. So one of those, which God forbid it ever happens, but I've been around and actually within a church I'm a pastor at, like I've been around people who didn't have money to pay for funerals. And we've had to intercede and help. And not that that's bad, we do that. But I've been around families where like a loved one dies unexpectedly, right? We don't know exactly when we're going to die. And then there's this $10,000 funeral bill that's necessary or more, right? One that we helped with recently it was substantial. But the family was stressed out because of the death in the family. And we're kind of switching gears here a little bit, but this just came to mind as we're talking. They've just lost a loved one. And I know as like myself with a parent with kids, like if I would have an unexpected thing happen, I want to make sure I'm covered so it doesn't create more stress. Talk to us about products or things people can do if the unexpected happens with um with death,
Yeah.
with
And
expenses around that.
yeah. And I have a personal thing that, my great grandmother passed away in January,
Mm,
and she was 95 years old. And by the time I became an agent, she was too old for me to write her a life insurance policy. And she had a couple that she had for 20, 25 years or so, but it was only $4,000. So I saw the stress that my own family went through, and me
yeah,
as an agent, this stuff happens to everybody at some point, and you have to have the coverage before life happens. So my family had to come out of pocket for my grandma's funeral, and that's really, really hard to see. We all
yeah,
have seen things online, maybe Facebook. You see a GoFundMe because someone
yeah.
suddenly
We see
passed
those a
away.
lot, actually.
It's really, really
Yeah,
sad that, if they're not working with a good agent that's educating them on different type of
yeah,
products like life insurance, they're gonna have to come out of pocket, or their family, or somebody.
right.
So what we do is very, very important in providing, again, the education to you as a beneficiary on different things. So
Yeah, I don't think you want to wind up being the person. Not that there's anything wrong, but having to do GoFundmes. Like you could actually have something in place and not be relying on that as your plan for really any of the situations we're talking. I've seen GoFundMe's for any type of situation. I'm like, oh, it's such a sad experience that that happened. But then there's that financial aspect, which people just don't plan for, create stress in the family, which I know, like, as I get older and I watch my kids, now grandkid, like, I wanna make sure that there's a legacy, there's something in place, so it's not stressful for them, whether I'm getting older and I just don't want the stress on them, or if I were to pass away, like, I wanna make sure, I've worked my whole life, right, where I don't want it to be a bad thing, for them to be left behind with. So that's why it's a really interesting age. I mean, every age, I guess, is. You have a cancer policy on yourself at your age. So it doesn't matter like what age we are, like things happen and there's simple solutions that we can do to protect ourselves that a lot of people don't know about. So I know you've taught me a ton, in those areas and making changes. Let's talk about recovery care. Can you tell some stories on that and where people might make mistakes in that area?
yeah. So the unfortunate thing is people pay into the Medicare system their entire life. But when they actually go on to Medicare, they're almost caught off guard thinking, why am I paying more for Medicare now? You got to pay a premium for Part B. And people think that they paid into the system and now it's going to cover everything. And unfortunately, that's just not the way the
You
world
mean my
works.
paycheck that's been deducted my whole life, it didn't pay for all this?
Yeah,
It's
you're
crazy.
only paying into one part of Medicare, which is the Part A, which is your hospital
Yeah.
coverage. So
People are shocked over that sometimes. They're like, I watched these things come out of my paycheck for 40 years, and now I have to get to the end here and I'm still paying.
yeah, it's a sad reality, but
Yeah.
that's why, us as agents, we have to go through this with you. And specifically with recovery care, that's mainly tailored towards long-term care. That is not paid for by Medicare at all. If you're not lucky enough, and we always like to say lucky enough to get on state Medicaid because you got to spend down your assets, you got to give up a lot of things that you worked your whole life for. And if you don't have any type of asset protection in place, you're going to have to come out of pocket for a long term care facility. My girlfriend, her grandma was in a nursing home for about a year with dementia, and I saw her grandpa have to go back to work and
Yeah.
drive over the road truck to help pay for that bill.
Yeah, it's
So
crazy.
these are things that happen
Yeah.
to people on a daily basis. And it's so important that you know how the system works and can get the protection that you need. God forbid, again, something like that happen, but it
Yeah.
happens more often than people think. Even skilled nursing care isn't covered very well by Medicare. If you go to the hospital and you need to go to a rehab facility for, let's say, 30 days to, learn how to walk again, whatever the situation is, there's some exposure within that you're going to have to come out of pocket for. So, again, unfortunately, and I wish Medicare covered everything, but that's just not the way it works. So, working with a good agent that's going to take the time with you and show you different options is the most important thing you can do for yourself.
Yeah, it's really sad, this whole topic, because I walked through some of it with my dad, and my aunt turned 100 just a couple days ago, and I didn't know it, but across the street here is a really nice facility for skilled nursing care. And my cousin was like, "Yeah, your aunt was there until she ran out of money. They drained, sell the house, everything, just not a plan in place." My dad went on Medicaid. I remember we were getting him approved, and we went through different assets. You have to sell the thing, sell the truck, the vehicle. Even there was like some trailer that was on some title from like 1985. I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
And they said it's worth 3,000. So until this is sold, he can't be on Medicaid and go into this facility. We none of us knew where the trailer was, because I mean that was a long time ago. So we had to prove that this trailer didn't exist so that he could go into a facility to be taken care of. Anyway, um, long story short, but we run into people sometimes, and they'll see a product, they'll start thinking through things. When you are at this age, you're thinking budget, right? Um, you're thinking, I'm going to live off Social Security. I've got this pension, or I've got this or that. So some people might think, can I really afford these products? Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, and I understand that. Like, not everyone's in the same situation. Not everyone can afford everything, and that's why it's our job as agents to what we like to call a client needs analysis. We're going to look at your health, your income, your doctors, your prescriptions, you know, all the financial stuff, and really get an idea of your situation, and then we're going to go over different options to help protect you from the exposures in Medicare. So, touching on what you said, earlier is always the better. If you wait for anything, it's only going to get more expensive. So if you're able to lock in
Mhm.
certain products now that's more affordable to carry you over into life, because a lot of them outside of Medicare supplement, they will
Yeah,
stay the same premium the rest of your life.
that's huge.
So yeah,
That's huge. Like, when I hear people say I can't afford it, I'm like, you really can't afford not to, because you're actually the person that's in the situation where if something does happen, you need this more than anybody. So talk to us about that, the importance of locking in a rate. Most things in life you can't. I think like gas prices right now are not too locked in, by the way. So they've
yeah,
gone up like 30,
yeah.
40. Imagine like I could have bought gas and locked in my rate, for the rest of my life at a buck 20 a gallon or something. I'd look like a genius right now, right? Had I done that. But really, these policies are the same way. Like, you can look like a genius by just taking a really simple step early, right? If that makes sense.
Yeah, it's so important to get it, at the right time, because people's health only gets worse over time. Like, what you look like today is not going to be the same you maybe next year. And I've
I
with
used to have
over
more hair. It's true.
same here.
It's
Same
not
here.
growing back. I haven't figured that part out yet. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. So, and again, that's why it comes back to just working with a good agent, like here at Medicare Team, that's going to show you some things and provide you some value that is within your budget. We're not here to sell you something that you can't afford, but there are things that we can do to help make your coverage better and make it affordable. Because, like you said, a lot of people
Yeah.
can't afford
Mhm.
a long-term care facility. Now, that could be anywhere from $8,000 to $10,000 in today's time
Per
a
month.
month.
Per month. Yeah,
So,
let's be clear there in case people don't know that.
yeah,
If you haven't walked through that, I've walked through it. And I mean, I'm like, when I first started to get into it, like, I was like, how can anybody afford, like, it's crazy. Um, and how quickly, like, my dad's dementia accelerated fast. And we were faced with large bills really quickly. And it would have been good to have some kind of plan in place. So
yeah. And it's not you as the individual that's just going to go through the stress. It's your family.
yeah,
They're the ones that have to go see you in these facilities, and
maybe
it's
that's why I lost my
heartbreaking.
hair.
Hopefully not,
I
but
could have been.
it's not just you that's going to go through the stress of this. The reality is your family, your friends, the people you
Yeah,
care about
it's so true.
are the ones that go through this as well, and they don't want to see you in that type of position. But if you have some type of coverage in place and you're able to help cover these things, it's going to
Yeah.
give not only you the peace of mind, but also your family.
Yeah, like, as I age and get older, I wanna make sure there's a plan in place so that, God forbid something happen, like, I don't want my kids changing my diapers, right? That's just something I don't want. I know that sounds it's real. My son's behind the, camera right now, and he would agree with that. Um, so having a plan in place, like, I mean, those are things, like, as I walk in life, like, there's things I wanna make sure that are in place, so I just wanna make sure my kids are taken care of too.
Yeah.
Myself, my spouse, my wife, um, and that's why I really love, like, working with you, because I know, like, as you're meeting with a client face to face, like we would be right now, or it's on the phone call, you really have the best interests in mind of the client, right? And I think that's something, if you could talk about that a little bit, the heart to make sure our clients are in the best place that they need to be in based on their situation.
Yeah, you gotta be a servant of people, like, you gotta care about people in this business, because unfortunately, not every agent has your best interests in mind. They may overpitch you something, they may try to hard sell you on a plan, and that's not the best, for your situation, so you gotta have that servant mind, and think if you were my mom, or you were my grandma, or my grandpa, or whatever, what kinda time would you take with them? Um, what value would you bring, and the care behind that, because that's you can feel that. Even if you're in person or you're on the
Yeah.
phone, you can tell if someone truly cares about what they do and if they care about you as an individual, and that's gonna make you feel better about the agent that you're working with your health insurance, because this stuff changes every single year, so if you get signed up with Medicare Team, they're not just gonna help you one year and say, "See you later." They're gonna go over this stuff with you every year because plans change, your health can change, you know, good or bad. And that's our job as agents, is to build a relationship with our clients over time. And that's ultimately going to give us the things that we want in life, whatever
Yeah.
that is.
And it changes constantly. That's a great point. Like, that's why we do podcasts here weekly, and there'll be new information because the rules of 2025 or 2026 or 2027, or even within there, can change. Working with people who are focused on creating value and taking care of their clients. One of the core values of Legacy is trust. Um, we have it right here in front of us, but it's important. And even just getting to work with you, like, I can feel why the clients you work with trust you, right? Because you're compassionate, you're taking care of them, you have their best interests in mind, which that comes through, right? So people are going to trust you with that. And then talk to us about referrals. You get a lot of referrals. Why is that?
It's all about client experience. We want you to feel empowered in your healthcare. We want you to have the peace of mind that you're looking for, especially when you're going through stressful times. Like, I can't imagine getting diagnosed with cancer and the stress that that would put on an individual. And like I said, even your family's going to go through this. So, working with an agent that truly cares about you, your friends, your family are going to want something like that as well. And everybody needs a good agent in their life that's going to build a relationship over time. So, the client experience that the agent provides is vital. And if you do a good job, you provide a good service, you're going to get a lot of referrals, because thousands of people a day turn 65. There's millions of people on it that still need a good agent. And unfortunately, a lot of Medicare agents, they don't have that same mindset when it comes to helping individuals. They may sign them up for a plan now, that person doesn't even know who their agent is. So if you ask 10 people if they know who their agent is, I would
Right.
probably say 7 don't know who the agent is.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of great agents out there. And if you have one, that's awesome. But that's something that you need to be looking for, is someone that's going to educate you, someone that's going to take the time with you, not just this year, but every year. I look at it, I'm 31 years old. I'm going to be in this business for a long time. I'm going to be your Medicare agent the rest of your life if you're my client. And that's the mindset that I have. And that's why I get a lot of referrals, is because I truly do care
Yep.
about my clients. Like, if they were my mom or my dad or my grandma or my grandpa.
Awesome. Well, believe it or not, we're, like, at the end of the time that we have for today's episode. Isn't that
That
crazy?
flew by.
It flies by. But if you are needing help in any of the areas that Chris and I have been talking about, you can go to MedicareTeam.com. You can click on a link there, set up an appointment to talk with one of our team. We'll answer any question you have. We'll help you get on Medicare A and B. We'll help you with all the steps that you have, or really just clear up any confusion that you might be running into, which is really, really invaluable especially at this stage of where you're at in your life and your career, and the importance of your healthcare journey that is continuing on right now. So thank you again, Chris, for being here today. It was great
Thank
to
you
have
for
you
having
here.
me.
Yeah. And my name is Jeff Uster again with MedicareTeam.com. I thank you so much for your time. We are honored to serve you, to work with you, and to help you take the best step forward in everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for listening. Have a blessed day.